Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Stand in the Light. It's June 29th, 2014, and I hope everyone's had a good weekend and has had a good Sunday. Summer is definitely here in northeast Oklahoma, and I was reminded how humid it can get just this morning. So, this evening I wanted to talk about a couple of things kind of from the heart. There's a lot of stories out there that can capture your thoughts and erode at your time, and so I'll talk about some of those things. But first, I wanted to. It's been a couple of weeks. Wasn't able to broadcast last weekend, and 2 weeks ago I released a video and released some audio files for download, and I purposely have not gotten into the debate on the comment section of the YouTube video. It's not that I didn't want to respond, certainly did, but I wanted to keep the information that was released both on the website and in that video, of themselves. I didn't want to interject my own personal thoughts too much. So but there were some comments that were left, and obviously there are some people that did not take kindly to me releasing that information. I can only say again what my intent was, which was to just release the information so people can make a decision for themselves. It wasn't to try to certainly attack anybody there. Some of the people that were commenting, I didn't get a chance to know. I did have some people that have reached out to me, privately through email, and so there's been some conversations there. So I just wanted to say that I'm not responding not because the comments aren't worthy of comment. It's just I don't want to spend all of my time dwelling on this and just kind of perpetuating emotions, which I think is what a lot of people react and respond to. I just thought it was kind of kind of as a note for the people that comment and did not know who I was or my affiliation with Council of Time or what my motive was. I just thought it was kind of interesting. I did go to the Council of Time YouTube channel, and of the only two videos that are favorited over at Council of Time, one is still of myself and Sherry and her husband, breaking bread. So, people will have to make their own conclusions, and I'm not trying to tear anyone down. Certainly wasn't trying to hurt anyone. If people were hurt by that, I would just, say that, I apologize. It certainly wasn't my intent. And, with that, we'll leave that be. So, I did want to say that, tonight I got some software. I was going to try to share some things with you. And the software may be ready for prime time, but obviously I'm not. I'm having some computer issues. But, maybe by next week, get some of those things ironed out. Also, testing out, in addition to the live chat on the Stand in the Light website, looking at using the Tiny Chat application, which lets you do both video and audio as well as just the text chat. Just looking to expand the interaction there. For those of you that are new to standinthelight.com at the website, it's been end of quarter for me, so I've been putting in about 75 hours a week for the last couple of weeks. So hopefully you guys will see me a little bit more in chat in the coming in the coming weeks. And for those new people, just to I noticed that there's been a lot of chat in there. Just know that Stand in the Light. I built that website not to create an environment of, hey, you got to belong to this or you got to go there. It's just tools there for people that want to interact and don't have a schedule that coordinates with a brick and mortar church. And so just feel free to engage with people there. It's not I created it, but I don't consider myself the leader. I've always said that, Stand in the Light, the website was, it was whoever's there and whoever wants to use it. It's not, it's not a membership kind of thing. So anyway, to share with you guys what I was thinking about tonight, and this has kind of been coming to me because I've been just trying to make sense of all of the things that are taking place. I had a conversation with another former council time member a week and a half or so ago, and we got to talk to some length. And during that conversation, he asked me several questions. What I thought was really coming, and how do I interpret some of these things, and what am I doing to kind of prepare. The original intent of doing the Stand in the Light or the videos to begin with was to really just kind of share my own testimony, my own thoughts with people. And so we had a really great conversation, and I shared with him, some of the things that I was doing. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to know that we're moving into a time of economic despair. I think that the indications of what food prices are things that we all need to be cognitive of and pay attention to. I've been saying for 2 years, even to my own family, food. I've also shared with many of you, and I believe I referred to it too in preparing the harvest, that I didn't feel like the Lord was telling me to stock up on food for me. I won't go to the extent of saying what I've heard some other people say, which is, if you're relying on this food, or if you're counting on this food to save you, you're kidding yourself. Well, I say you're kidding yourself if you're not storing up food. You're kidding yourself because you don't put yourself in a position to be able to give and to be able to take care of someone else. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to do what I'm doing. But food becomes very important, and if you're, I know I spent a lot more than I normally spend when I did my monthly grocery shopping this past month. I'm just like you guys. I'm a working guy, and so when your dollar starts to go less, or you're spending the same amount of money, but you're receiving less for it, it's only going to get. It's only going to get worse, right? If you understand how the fractional reserve lending system works, then there's no possible way that the dollar begins to become more valuable. It's just not going to happen. They continue to do the deficit spending, and so the inflation is going to continue to rise. It's kind of interesting because when we think about inflation and you look at the numbers, not to get off on a financial tangent, but the way that the inflation is measured, has never been consistent for 40 years now, and so quite literally from one month to the next they may adjust how they determine inflation. I think the interesting part is that inflation, as Mike Maloney defines it, which I think he uses the Milton Friedman term, is just an expansion of the money supply. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I very seldom have cash on me. I can't even think if I have any cash in my house. It's just the way it goes. It's the way that our system, typically works. And depending on how you shop, you may or may not carry cash with you when you go shopping. So, but the currency is all digits now. So the Milton Friedman term of inflation, which is an expansion of the currency, because it's all digital, I don't really know that we can. You can't use the old monikers anyway. You can't use the old measurements anyway. And so, even the folks over at Shadow Stats probably have a very difficult time trying to determine what inflation is. For me, like many of you, it's probably the easiest to determine inflation is when you go to buy something, right? And so, I would still encourage people, if you have not, I would encourage people today, when you're buying something, buy something extra. Buy one thing extra. Buy a can or two extra. Buy an extra bag of rice. Buy, whatever. You still have to do that because, I think the time is going to come in the near future where we may have to actually rely on those, whether that be because unemployment rates continue to go up, businesses begin to fail, or whether or not there's a hyperinflation or a rapid increase in inflation. You can think about all of the ways in which the system is manipulated, and that's bad enough. But I mean, you throw one natural disaster in there, one extended drought, or as we will start seeing here in Oklahoma, grass fires. Fires, floods, natural disasters can have as much of an impact on the agriculture and the food prices as anything. We know that everything else is manipulated. So like I said, there's no way that whatever food you buy today is going to be cheaper than it is right now. And so I would say, folks, I can't stress it enough. I wish I could get more people to do it. And I know that times are only going to continue to get tough. So you got to make some sacrifices somewhere. For me, I've become a homebody. I mean, I work and I spend very little extracurricular time. If I do, it's on things that don't require a lot of money. And so there's if you can call that advice. There's what I'm doing because I believe that outside of all of the other events that are taking place, that the economic system is the one that's going to impact us and affect us the soonest. It's already impacting us, and I believe it's the one that will truly limit what we can and cannot do if we don't have a little preparation up there. I don't like to predict how long I think this thing will be. I believe that that the International Monetary Fund and the banking system will bring in an alternative currency if they lose control over the devaluation of the dollar. So there'll always be something there. There won't be a void. It won't be a void for very long. And as Mike Maloney from Silver and Gold says, wealth is never lost. It's only transferred. And so as we start to feel less and less purchasing power, as we start to see people losing their means, losing their ability, and losing their economic stability, that only means that somebody else is gaining that. So, I would say, summer's a great time. If you, one of the things I'm planning on trying to learn how to do is to can, so I can start canning some things and growing a few more things in the backyard. And, you can do a lot of things even if you don't have a lot of money and a lot of resources. I've already got neighbors that barter vegetables with, for some of my fresh eggs. So anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit tonight about, givers and takers, and it's probably why I wanted to talk about food because, if we look now at just kind of the entire world, and I feel like the entire world is just a tinderbox ready to ignite, and it could ignite anywhere, and it could ignite on a couple of different fronts. Everything from the war against the Christians could erupt just about anywhere. Christians are being persecuted daily, to economic issues, and we know that when it comes to politics, all bets are off. And so around the world, we're starting to see, changes and shifts. And if you look at how we, exploit the mainstream media and what stories are covered and what stories aren't, it's real easy to get overwhelmed, real easy to get confused. But nothing really is capturing. I mean, it's June 29th, and if I just go to Drudge Report and look at the headlines on the Drudge Report, and it's probably the one topic that everyone has had to think about in the last couple of weeks is what's going on down at the border. And it's definitely a political issue to the extent that the politicians are going to use these poor people. They'll continue to use them. But I was thinking about givers and takers because, as a Christian man and as someone who the Lord has already, spoken to and saying, look, you're not preparing and you're not storing this food, for you. You're storing it so that you can help someone that you don't even know yet. My heart goes out to these people because, you question and you try to rationalize what would drive these people to bring their children, to the border. And it's real easy when you listen to the left and the right, and they talk about, well, they're coming here because of the freebies, or they're coming here because it's so horrible where they're at. And I think it's a combination of both. I mean, I'm the son of an immigrant, and when I think about the reasons why my dad would leave his family in Iraq and move here to the United States, it was to be free of religious persecution. It was to be free of tyrannical influence and suppression of individual rights. And so he came here and he prospered here and created a family here. And, I don't know, some 16 years later or so, his rest of his family came to the West. And so, when I think about the ideals behind what America is and who being an American means to people, it's that concept of having freedom to enjoy your God-given rights. And whether people come here thinking that getting free food or free health care, or a better job, whatever motivates them to actually make that step, it's the idea that gets them to actually carry that through. And I think that idea of being part of the land of the free, to where you can express yourself, I think that is what happens. And then I think what happens is they get here and reality kind of comes in, and they become, whether they realize it or not, they become a political pawn, if you will. To me, it doesn't get any more simple, and there's no better definition of politics than when I read a headline that says that Nancy Pelosi says that we have to use this crisis as an opportunity, and she makes the comment that she would like to bring all of these children home with her. Well, I don't know Nancy personally, but I can't imagine her bringing 47,000 kids to her. But it's a good political tagline, right? Oh, I have so much compassion for these people. I want to bring them home. The problem that I have when we look at it from the political aspect is the same problem that I have with government in general. I'm not anti-government. I just believe that the government is supposed to operate within certain enumerated powers as it's spelled out in the Constitution. And the problem that I have is that when we start looking at utilizing or wanting to do things for other people, to me, this is where, as a Christian, we need to make sure that we are set up and prepared ourselves to be the givers. Because what happens is, in this particular instance, is all of these folks now that are sitting down there at the border, and especially the children, they are being brought in, being shipped all around the country. We don't know who all's coming in. There's now stories and reports coming out of other countries, even from Asia, Chinese people coming into Central America and then coming up through the open border. So it's not even just it's not even fair to say that they're it's Mexicans or it's Latins. It's anybody now. It's the borders wide open. The problem is that the government in the means of trying to get a political play off of this event, they are trying to trying to get people to perceive them as being the givers, right? We're going to give you something. And I'm not opposed to that at all. I'm not opposed to anybody that wants to go down there and help any of these people out. I'm not opposed to that at all. the concern that I have is that when we do it through the government, this is where I start to have the problem, because the government can only give by taking it from someone else. It doesn't produce anything. And so, I've read a lot of comments, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that feel very strongly about this particular issue and about these, freeloaders or whatever, people coming over for the freebies. And I would say that, if it was truly free, if these people understood how the system works, then I would say, hey, okay, they're trying to take advantage, they're trying to game the system. But I really think that most people are coming because wherever it is worse, and they want that idea. I mean, freedom and the ability and the freedom to express yourself is something that most people do want, especially if they've had to face tyranny before. I mean, if we just said, look, you don't have to worry about school, you don't have to worry about health care, you don't have to worry about eating. You just show up at the border. If we said that today, if we just made that announcement, how many people would come? Now, the federal government couldn't sustain that, couldn't feed and clothe and house everyone there, right? But if everyone that lives in a country where they're suppressed, if every woman in the Muslim world who could not leave her home or attend school or drive a car had the option of coming without having with no stipulations, they would come. And so we can't blame necessarily the individuals, and we certainly can't necessarily blame the desire to want to be free. This is where we as Christians have to separate ourselves between the true takers and who the givers are. And so I just wanted to challenge everyone to think about this particular event, because I think this is a very defining moment in American history, regardless of what happens with the economy, regardless what happens with ISIS or what's happening in the Middle East. This is a very defining moment in America's history. You're going to have, in the days, in the weeks, and the months ahead, you're going to have entire communities that are changed by this, and you will see a lot of hatred. You will see a lot of animosity towards these people, and look, I completely agree with some of the concerns that people have, especially when we're talking about reports of disease and reports of violent gangs and drugs and all these other things. Those are certainly things that we have to be concerned with, and I'm not trying to make light of those concerns at all. And I still believe that there are laws that are reasonable laws that should be enforced. I mean, we shouldn't have the people that we're hiring and entrusting to secure our borders using their academy facility as a makeshift shelter. This is where the churches have to step up. This is where individuals have to step up. You don't forego your rights. You still have a right to your happiness, and you still have a right, to your property, and you still have a right to protect yourself and your family. But they're not all criminals, and there are a lot of people, I'm sure, that will view this as a way of further dividing us between kind of an us and them. And I think the other thing that we need to be careful of is that we don't allow someone who is forcibly taking from one group of people to give to another group of people. We certainly can't allow them to claim the title of giver. That's not how that game works, but that's certainly how that game is being played. I wanted to share a couple of scriptures with you guys, and let's see, we're coming up on the bottom of the hour, but 2 Corinthians 9:10 through 11. Now he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will also supply and increase your store of seed, and will enlarge the harvest of your righteousness. You will be made rich in every way, so that you can be generous on every occasion, and through us your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. So again, I think this is an opportunity for us as Christians. If it's not an opportunity for us to have a direct impact or a direct opportunity to give, it certainly gives us an opportunity to take this event, to challenge our own thoughts, to get us to look at the Scripture, and to then position ourselves and have us poised so that when an opportunity like this is staring at us in the face, one, we'll have the scriptural knowledge in us, and two, we won't be reacting in an emotional response, which typically, at least in in my history, that emotional response is typically not the right one, and so. That's where we need to be still, be confident, and I would also say that what goes along with that is kind of the next step, which is the scripture I'll take you to now in Matthew 6:1-4, is that so we do all these things, we get ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually prepared for what we can, and if those events present themselves, then we need to not react in an emotional reaction. But we also have to be careful to not exceed and be over zealous and exuberant about what we've done or what we are doing. Right. So Matthew 6:1-4 says, be careful not to do your acts of righteousness before men to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by other men. I tell you the truth, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. And so, we need to be ready, because we never know. I mean, I was watching a documentary, and it was a very tragic documentary, and it was about people that had lost children. They had lost their sons or daughter, and it was a reminder of all of the things that the Scriptures teach us when it talks about dying to ourselves and to not let our hearts or our minds be corrupted with money and greed and possessions, and I can't imagine what that would feel like, losing a son or a daughter. But it reminded me that I don't know. It's a confidence game. If you look at the economic system, it's a confidence game. Right? I mean, the confidence and I don't have any money here, but, it's that confidence that dollar bill will buy today the same thing that it bought you the day before. And I think, the thing that we kind of get, it's just a human thing. It's part of our humanity, is that, we woke up this morning and the sun came up and we had our coffee or, whatever you drink in the morning, and we started our day, and there was some normalcy to it. There was something routine about it. And I think that whatever your kind of morning rituals are, if you say your prayer in the morning shower, whatever your routines are, it's that we get into this kind of complacency of that, today was just like yesterday, or very similar to yesterday, and so we get into this pattern of just kind of living our life, and then we forget that at any moment, we could be called. And so, I don't know why in the last 2 weeks I've really been feeling like it's time. It's just time to quit planning, and it's time to just start doing, because the events are lining up and they're happening faster. And the opportunity for us to differentiate ourselves tomorrow between a taker and a giver is very possible. And so for tonight's episode, that's what I wanted to leave with you guys, is to think of the ways in which the Lord may be able to use you to give. and then prepare for that, so that when that time comes, whether it's an earthly event or whether it's a spiritual event, whatever it is, you'll be prepared for. And if you've got those preparations in place, like I said, I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, this food that I have, stocked up is going to save me. I don't look at it at all. Does it bring me some peace of mind? It brings me peace of mind because I know that that's one less thing I have to be, to have, to be prepared for. And so I would encourage you to start making those steps now. Quit planning and just start doing, even if it's small. I may post these up. I may post these in chat, maybe, or up on the Twitter. When I started about 2 years ago, I went to Sam's Club, and I just took my phone, wherever it is. I just took my phone, and I just took some pictures of just the price tags, rice and beans and sugar, and I will tell you this: 2 years ago, I had no more money than I have today. But to do what I did 2 years ago to do today would cost me about 20% more. And so the same will be true for you. Whatever it is that you buy today, it will. I promise you, it will never be as cheap tomorrow as it is today. And so, start making those preparations. Start making those preparations now, and then look at some of the scriptures that speak to being prepared. Look at some of the scriptures that speak to giving, because, like I said, I think now is the time where we have to mentally be prepared, because, whatever is coming, we can't, we can't necessarily predict the date or the time. But we do know the things that are going to come. And so, I agree. A bag of rice may not save you from whatever's coming, but a bag of rice might feed a starving family for a week. And so, we don't think about those things here. Again, we get into kind of the normalcy bias. We get into the complacency of, hey, you know what? I still have a job. I know that I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm going to make my coffee. I'm going to make my 20-foot commute, and I'm going to start working. I'm going to put in a 10, 12-hour day. When that day changes, when that routine changes, if I'm not prepared, then it will be a little chaotic. It will be a little stressful. And, I would say that, if for no other reason, just to avoid that state of mind of confusion and chaos, there's a lot of things that people can deal with in an extended period of time. I've been in a position of being out of work for an extended period of time, 8 months, 6 months, 8 months, something like that. And and I will tell you, you can adapt a lot of things. Your mind can do some really miraculous things. You can learn a lot. You can change the way you view things. You can change a lot of things in 6 to 8 months' time about yourself. But you won't have 6 to 8 months to adjust or make decisions or do a career change if you're hungry, and or if your kids are hungry. And so, if you can't think about being prepared today, sit down with your family, sit down with your neighbors, sit down with your church, and try to figure out the ways in which resources may be available there and how you can contribute to that. Maybe monetarily you can't stock up on a bunch of food, but maybe you can give time and start working on building a small group, a smaller group of people, whether that be through a church or whether it be through your community group or whether it be in your neighborhood. You can't. It cannot be an individual thing. I mean, it can be, but it's going to be very, very. It's going to get very, very troublesome, and unless the Lord is speaking to you to do something specifically directly, it's just going to be it's going to be very, very difficult. And this is where I went in. I was speaking to the conversation I had with a gentleman from council that used to be in council at the time too, and he was asking me, because he does live kind of out in the country and a little bit remote, and he was asking me, what do I do? And it's funny because I had said I think at the end of Prepare the Harvest episode, I had said that somebody said, well, what do we do when the Hagmans go off the air? What do we do when we don't have the internet? What do we do when we don't have these people that we listen to and look up to and admire or guide us or whatever? And I said, the answer should be simple, because the answer should be that we all become watchmen, we all become messengers, we all become farmers, we all become whatever. And so the answer to the problem, and it's to refer back to what happened during the Revolutionary period, it's the same thing. You become as self-sufficient and independent as possible, but you don't do that alone. You do it with your neighbors. You do it as a community. And so, I have admired Stuart Rhodes from Oath Keepers. He was on Hagman and Hagman's a couple of weeks ago, and I was really glad that he was, because I think that audience needed to kind of hear some of the things that he said. But he's absolutely right that you have to start with your church. You got to start with your neighborhood, and if you don't know who your neighbors are, now is a great time to do that, and whether that is through reaching out to them individually, introducing yourself, or whether it's having a get together. I'll share with you guys something I did about 3 years ago, and I did it to kind of get my neighbors to know each other as much as for me to get to know them, because I thought it was important that we all get to know each other. And so for me, being a guy that was single and didn't have any kids, I called it a man meeting, right? So I invited the men that I knew or that I had met, neighbors around me, and I invited them over, and I called it a beans, bullets, and Band-Aids meeting, and I spent about 15 minutes talking about Scripture, and not all these guys were are believers, but I made it a point to say that just like when I was doing the first and last episodes, I think it's important that for me this is important, and so we'll allow me the time to give reverence to my Lord. And then we'd talk about other things. Okay, so what happens? Here in Oklahoma it may be a little easier than some other parts of the country, because we're just every Wednesday we have the tornado sirens get tested, and just about everybody has a weather radio. So talking about so what would happen if a tornado comes through and hits the neighborhood or hits close to us, or what do we do if if there is a grass fire and a fire is threatening the neighborhood or threatening someone's home, and start having those conversations that you don't have to, as Stuart said, you can't just go in there and start talking about end of times and doom and economic collapse and so forth. You can, but I don't think that will be as beneficial when you speak about things that are kind of more realistic, things that certainly can happen, and those kinds of events. Because the thing about that I think most of you will find is that once you start thinking about being prepared, then you never stop thinking about it. And so you start thinking of other ways in which you can start to do more and start branching out a little bit more. And it's so much easier when you have 2 or 3 people in a room that are starting to think that same way too. And so for me, I've got communication set up to where if the power goes out, I've got 4 neighbors that we can all communicate via handheld, two-way radios. And so, got that part taken care of. In the event that we have to leave the neighborhood or whatever the case may be, we've sorted that out. What would that look like? What would happen if we needed to get just away from the neighborhood? There's a gas leak, or I'm just about I don't know, less than a mile away from a major, major turnpike with lots of, agricultural and chemical trucks, So, I used, one of the scenarios I used was what happens if there's a chemical spill and we just have to evacuate the neighborhood. We don't know if it's going to be, 2 hours or 20 hours or 2 days, whatever. And so, you got to start working those things out now, because you just never know. And those kinds of things that you'll find is that when you start thinking about what do I do in those kinds of events, you're going to find that that's very similar for a lot of the other events, right? And so, believe it or not, as much as I disapprove of it, I've actually gone to the ready.gov website and have referred people to that, because again, if you can get people to start, thinking about being prepared for whatever the event may be, then it's not, then it's not easy then to transition into, well, what does it take to be prepared for this headline that's popped up today, right? Whatever that headline may be. And so that's what I would encourage you guys. I've been wanting to kind of do almost a second episode to Prepare the Harvest. Some people had reached out to me and were asking me kind of specifics on what to do. If you live out very remotely, it does introduce some additional challenges. But if you have the ability or you have the means, and I know that this is certainly true. Sherry and myself were able to get together through this. The hardest part is getting to know someone that you don't. Right? How do you break the ice? We as an online virtual church family aren't going to always necessarily be as. I think Sherry's like 6 miles from me, so we're not always going to be that close, right? So the thing that you have to do is quit worrying about the fact that people may not agree with you, people may not be a believer, people may not be doom and gloom or whatever, or they may just be living in completely asleep, living in fairy telling. It doesn't matter. No one is impervious to acknowledging things like Hurricane Katrina, or like the tornadoes in Moore. Or the twin twisters up in Nebraska a couple of weeks. No one's immune from those kinds of things, and so it gives you an ability and an opportunity to get out and meet your neighbors and know who they are. One of the things that Stuart says, I've tried this a couple of times actually before I was even really awake. Just I wanted to start a neighborhood watch, and could not get a lot of adoption just from the neighborhood that I'm in, but. If you do have a neighborhood watch, I would encourage you to get to know who your neighborhood watchmen are. If you don't live in a neighborhood that has a neighborhood watch, at least get the information from your local sheriff's department or your local police department. They typically all will have a neighborhood watch coordinator, someone that is working with the National Neighborhood Watch Organization, and at least get the information. And that could certainly be an opportunity for you to go out and meet someone as well and say, hey, I'm just going around, introducing myself. I live at whatever street, and I just wanted to see if there was any interest in, the neighborhood of starting a neighborhood watch program. So I'm just kind of going around asking people, introducing myself, and seeing if there is any interest or not. You'll find out a lot about somebody just in giving them the opportunity to get to know you a little bit, and there will be some that won't. But at least for me, like I said, I don't know everybody in my neighborhood. It's a pretty good sized neighborhood, but man, I know everybody whose fence line touches mine, and across the street, and even down a little bit. And so if I could get more disciplined, I'd be out walking the neighborhood every night, and I've done that a few nights and need to do it every night. But that's another good way too. And if you see someone, feel free to go up and visit with them. But to me, I think that whatever it is that you think you want to do, or whatever you keep putting on your list and don't get done, I would say that really pray on that. Really ask the Holy Spirit to speak to you to see if this is what you're supposed to do, and then step out on faith and do it. Because here it is in summer of 2014, and yeah, there's been some watchmen out there that have been sounding the alarm for a really long time, and people say, see, nothing ever happens, nothing ever happens. Well, something will happen. Nothing will change. There's absolutely nothing that is going to be the exact same tomorrow as it was today. I mean, it's been a couple of hours, and I didn't even actually check here, but I got the little earthquake deal on my phone, and there were some more 6.8 quakes just north of New Zealand a couple hours ago. And so, you never know. Again, we don't know the hour, we don't know the time. From a spiritual perspective, we don't know when that date is coming. But we can be certain that things are not going to be the same, even though in our own little world it may, right? I mean, it's so predictable that I could probably guess at what time I'm going to wake up in the morning, and what time that coffee is going to be done brewing, and when I'm going to read my first email in my work inbox. And so we can't allow that normalcy to allow us to be idle. And again, the bigger risk, and this is why I wanted to speak to givers and takers tonight. The bigger risk is that if we aren't prepared to at least take care of ourselves, that's an absolute minimum. But if we can't even extend a meal to someone in need, then we are allowing them to have to be put in a position to where they have to take from someone else. And that's the way I look at it, is that, if we could get everyone that's sitting down there at the border to understand that they are taking from someone, they're not receiving something from a giver, that they're receiving something from a taker, then we could certainly influence and change a lot of the behavior. Until the government is willing to be put in its place, and whether that's done through through the courts, which is any guess, right? And, on any given day, you never know which way they're going to come down on things. It's just up to us to make sure that we are prepared and that we are the ones willing to give when someone's in need. Because if we're giving to someone that's in need, that's truly in need, then we just cut, the taker out of the equation. And can we do it for everyone? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I've given up on trying to pin the American people and put them in a box, because every time that I do that, I go back in history and I look at what people were willing to overcome and what people were willing to do. And when I say people, I'm talking about the average American person, the ones that continue to ruin the planet and take from those that and the ones that take from those that are the producers are always going to be the people that are compromised and corrupt and either have a political motivation or some kind of economic motivation to do so. I was just sharing with someone yesterday, the story of Pitcher, Oklahoma, and what would happen when greed and corruption take in, and you are left with the aftermath. But it's the people that are left behind that will be the ones that left behind to pick up the pieces. Those will be the ones that will do, the miraculous work. Those will be the ones that set things right. And so, anyway, I know we're getting down to the last 10 minutes or so, and I did have a final prayer for this evening. But I know I've been kind of it feels a little bit like rambling on, but there's some things tonight that I really wanted to share with people, because I think we're going to see the political headlines just continue to flash before us of why we need to do things, and people making decisions on our behalf to justify taking more from us and giving it away. And again, I'm not I'm not saying that the people that are showing up at our borders aren't people that are in need, or are people that aren't willing, to do the right thing. There are some that aren't, obviously, but I'm saying in general that there are people that are coming for the ideal reason, not they're not, trust me. Anybody that thinks that they're going to come and have to go through the political red tape to get the freebies, there's a rude awakening for them. It may seem like it's all great now, right? But you end up on a bus, or you ended up crowded up in some gymnasium with 400 other people. That's not pleasant by any means. And so it's not like they're getting a gravy train. And again, if we have ourselves in the position to be able to help those that are truly in need, then it's kind of that old, not to make light of it because it happens all the time, but these people that hold up signs, we'll work for food, and then you go offer them a job and know whether they really don't want a job, right? you weed those people out pretty quickly, and I think the same is true for anyone. There will always be people willing to try to take advantage of someone else. Criminals are criminals, but we're supposed to just stand in the light, and we do good. And if we operate out of the example of Jesus, then if someone takes advantage of that, that's not on us. That does not diminish us by any means. And so, I will say this, because I've said it before. Anybody wants to reach out to me, feel free at the show page, or go to standinthelight.com and feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to have one-on-one conversation and offer suggestions, ideas, share anything that that may help you. It's easy when you start thinking about these things. It's almost overwhelming because there's so many things to think about and so many ideas. And you could spend a couple of years just watching a bunch of YouTube videos. That's kind of what I did. But there's everyone's circumstance is going to be a little bit different, and having somebody that has the means and the ability to do a lot of things is great. If you don't have those means and abilities, then you got to get a little creative. So I'm more than happy to engage people in those conversations and help, or even just pray with you. So so I selected a prayer this evening. This is, as most of you guys know, I read a prayer from No Atheists in Foxholes. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube and not on Blog Talk, there's what the book looks like. And on tonight's prayer, page 217, it's a prayer for hectic times. And I think that's kind of what I've been feeling is, with one story after another trumping the story before it, and then you lose sight of a story, right? I mean, I'm looking at Drudge Report and I'm trying to find anything about ISIS, but a week ago you could not go to a news website without seeing the front page of ISIS outside of Baghdad, right? Last Friday or a week ago Friday. Here it is a week later, and what? Oh, now we're talking about Obamacare and amnesty for illegals. So, it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult to try to keep up with the news and make sense of it all. There's a lot of people out there trying to do that. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to share my own personal story with people and the scriptures that I find that are relevant to that, so that we can try to together communicate and try to keep kind of grounded and maybe have a little focus, so that we can continually to move forward with our faith. And we'll have plenty of time to circle the wagon, so to speak, when persecution is standing in front of us. And for now, I think it's time to definitely get prepared, because I think that if we don't prepare today, what's the saying that James Wesley Rawls says? If you're not prepared for today, you're not prepared for tomorrow. And I think that's the way we need to be thinking about that now. But anyway, so the final prayer, if you would, let's just bow our heads for a moment here. It's called a prayer for hectic times. Dear Lord, I come to you in prayer today. Life is too hectic, and I worry that I will not be able to keep up. I cannot carry all the burdens of work, family, bills, and responsibilities by myself. So I turn to you and ask for your help. If I forget you in the distractions of the day, I am glad that you do not forget me. I lean on you as my God, as the great listener, and as my dearest friend. I am glad that you are always there when I call out, either in joy or distress. I know that you have many prayers to hear today, but just this one last thing. Help me to carry everything to you in prayer. Amen. And so, folks, that'll wrap it up for this evening. Thanks for joining, and we'll have another broadcast next week. Hopefully, I'll get some of the software things worked out by then. There's so many copyright laws that if anybody listening has some advice, feel free to reach out to me. That's standinthelight.com or at the contact button there at the show page if you're listening to Blog Talk Radio. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.